Howdy do, Who fans. Welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. This is not episode 248. This is a slightly shorter show with me giving you a quick review of our trip to the BFI where we saw the Curse of Fenric the weekend just gone. Some merch items that have dropped in the last few days which look pretty good, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the recently released Series 12 trailer. So let's do that stuff. So, hope you guys are all well and that you've managed to do something Doctor Who related over the past week. Yes, I wanted to go through just a few cool merch items. On the last podcast, or even the one before that, we said that we haven't heard anything from Rubber Toe Props recently. So as a nice coincidence, they've dropped a few items which we'll go through in a minute. But yes, my co-host Adam, good friend, he's not with us this week, unfortunately. He's working his nuts off at the minute. The best way to describe Adam, he's just so busy at the moment, so unfortunately he couldn't be here. So hopefully next week we'll find a day to record and we can go through some of this stuff together. I know he's got his own thoughts on Series 12, and we'll speak about that stuff, and I'm sure he'll want to recap his thoughts on the BFI screening too. So let's get into that. So it was a really, really good day. Every time we mention the BFI stuff on the podcast over the years, we've always said, if you can get a ticket to get to any screening of Doctor Who, then it's absolutely worth it. It's such a great experience being surrounded by loads of other Who fans in the cinema watching, especially classic Doctor Who up on the big screen. It's really, really cool. And for the last year or so, since the special edition Blu-ray box sets have been dropping, they've picked a story from those box sets where they've done the remaster on them, both visually and the new audio mix and sound effects and stuff, and they just look so good at the cinema. So we normally keep you guys updated when those events are coming up. So I think they're going to do another 3, possibly 4 events. I think the kind of pattern, somebody mentioned this to me the other day, I think the pattern that's been figured out is that when there is new Doctor Who on the TV, then they try and do 3 of these a year. If there isn't, then they do 4. So we should be hopefully getting at least 3 next year. So we'll keep you updated on when the next one is. It'll obviously be in line with whatever Blu-ray box set is going to land next. As I said, they pick a story from that. So yes, it was a really, really good day. We met up with loads of other Who fans that we usually meet at these things. Had a great catch up. Our writers were there, Maria and Mark. Had a very quick catch up with Mark, and then had a good chat with Maria afterwards. Really, really good. And then loads of other peeps that we recognise and have a chat with at these events. It was really cool to hang out with those guys. And then the event itself was just superb. And you can see why. One of the guys mentioned that this particular Doctor Who BFI event was the one where the tickets went, the quickest. They sold out in the quickest amount of time. You can see why it was a very good event. So before the actual event kicked off, because they normally do this kind of format where they show the event, they show the story or the episode on the big screen, and then they do normally a Q&A session or some kind of discussion after the event. But they had a slight change to this one. So they actually had the writer there, Ian Briggs. He came up before, and they had a quick Q&A there and gave us his thoughts on what he was feeling around the time when he was writing this, and his job at the BBC and his involvement with other writers and John Nathan Turner and so on. Oh, that's the other thing as well. I didn't get to go, but apparently there was a really good documentary about John Nathan Turner that they put on before this, and Adam went and a few other people, which is going to be one of the special features on the upcoming season 26 box set. So that's really worth checking out if you haven't pre-ordered that box set yet. It's worth doing. So apparently it's a very, very good, very telling and quite emotional documentary about JNT. So that's worth picking up. So Ian Briggs gave us a little bit of insight around JNT's involvement, and then, you know, how he went about writing this one. He felt like it was a really good mix of horror and, you know, not much science fiction until you get sort of a decent chunk into the story. And so that was really good to hear from him. And then we had the showing itself, and it was so good. Curse of Fenric is I love this story anyway. It's a great Who, a classic Who McCoy story. And to see it remastered, and they played it out as a feature as well. So they didn't have the credits and stuff in between cliffhangers and whatnot. They played it back to back as if it was a feature film. And it worked really well in that format, actually. It was really good, and everyone just loved this story. Even if you weren't the biggest fan of it beforehand, seeing it in the cinema was just brilliant. And then when the showing was done, there was a Q&A with Andrew Cartmel, who was the script editor at the time, and Sophie Eldred, and that was just so good. They gave us a really good insight into what was happening around Doctor Who at that time, some of the things that were involved during filming and so on. Sophie alluded to there's the famous scene at the end of the story where Sophie dives into the sea from, you know, the little rock pool bit with the Doctor and stuff. She went through how she was absolutely terrified of doing that. It was actually potentially really dangerous. And a couple of times she mentioned that back in the day, that's just what, you know, there was a stunt double for a couple of things that they did. Like there's a scene where Ace throws this very flimsy looking rope ladder over the side of the castle, and she climbs down and then back up again and stuff. And she said that there was a stunt double for some of that, but she ultimately ended up going on it anyway and doing all that. And she said, you know, there's no way that actors would be allowed to do all that stuff now. So it was great to hear all those little snippets of those little insights into that stuff. And then Andrew Cartmel was going through about told us about the feeling of the BBC at the time, and you know, you ultimately, whenever there's any Q&As or anything to do with Andrew Cartmel, you ultimately always get the questions around, did you know that Doctor Who was going to be cancelled? Did you know it was heading towards being axed and all that stuff? So he probably gets bored of that question every now and then. And but yes, he did say that that he feels like Doctor Who was never axed. It was just put on an extended hiatus. You know, it was never completely cancelled or anything like that, which is interesting. And then we went through a bunch more stuff around Sophie's new book that was coming out, and we also had then they played some special features that were coming up on the season 26 box set, and it looks so good. The behind the goggle box style on the sofa thing looks really good and really funny as always. They've got a really good documentary about the Curse of Fenric where some of the actors have gone back to the location. They've gone through all that stuff. It just looks, and the production value is amazing. It looks really good, and it's all mixed in with this cool soundtrack. And it ended up with, or it kicked off with the scene that the trailer that we got a couple of months ago for this box set, where it's Ace up in the tall tower block in London, and she hears the TARDIS, and then, you know, that was all good. And there was actually a few little teasers, I felt, for Ace's character. I think that we're going to see more of Ace as in the next couple of years, because a lot of people asked her, look, the style of this trailer for season 26 feels very modern Doctor Who, even though it's for a classic box set. The character of Ace and the style and everything feels very modern, like it was made for newer Doctor Who. And, you know, there was a few seconds of silence, and, you know, everybody started applauding, and then at some point in the Q&A, Andrew Cartmel mentioned that trailer was a great way to bring Ace's character full circle. He said his words were, it was a great closing, fitting close to her character. And then Sophie immediately jumped in with, or it's a very good opener. And everybody erupted into applause as well. So I feel like with this box set coming out, the trailer that they made, Sophie's book coming out, and the continuation of Ace's character, obviously with Big Finish and so on, I feel like we could see Ace doing something a bit more mainstream. That's just the feeling that I get anyway. there just seems to be a lot of build-up and certain things to do with that character recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Ace pop up in something in the near future. But and then we closed it out and they played another trailer for it and so on, and it was really good. And that wrapped up the event. And then we all went and had a few drinkies and chatted about, you know, various Doctor Who things and a bit of Star Wars and stuff. So overall, it was a really good day. It was such a great day. I can't emphasize this enough. So I'll talk about this a bit more with Adam as well, hopefully next week, because he stayed a bit longer than I did, and there's probably more talk and stuff going on. So overall, it was a fantastic day. And once again, if you can get tickets to a future BFI event where they're playing Doctor Who, it really is so worth it. It's a great experience. So that was the weekend at the BFI. Now, some merch stuff. There's a few things that have dropped recently, obviously in a run up to Christmas. You know, you see these things dropping more and more now as people struggle with their friends and families and other halves about what to get them. Oh, he's a Doctor Who fan. I don't know what to get him. He's got, you know, if you're like Adam and I and other Who fans, it's normally a case of, they've got everything that they want, you know, to do with Doctor Who. They're collectors to a degree. They've, you know, got a load of stuff. I don't really know what to get. This is a great time of year for these things to be dropping, because you can add these to your Crimbo list, or even if you just want to pick them up. It's a great. There's some great stuff here. So the first one is another Sonic screwdriver, the 13th Doctor screwdriver, and this one is from a different company. So the first two that launched last year, or the year before, the other 13th Doctor's Sonic screwdrivers, there was one that launched here in the UK by Character, and there was another one. Oh, what was the company? The name escapes me. There was a US version, and there was a bit of controversy around those models because everyone said the US version looked better. It just looked more screen accurate and so on. And there was some criticism around the build quality of both of those as well. You could see there was a very definite seam around it, and you could see the screw and all that stuff. And so anyway, this new company has brought out another version of the Sonic screwdriver. It's really cool that the BBC have handed this license to various companies. They haven't just sort of put an exclusivity stamp on it and it's only Character or whatever that can do it. So this is very cool. So this new one is from a company called Wow Stuff, and it's the official title is the 13th Doctor Sonic screwdriver with visual effects. And I don't know what other retailers this is going out at the moment. We've only got a link to the Amazon version, which is unfortunately sold out at the moment. It's temporarily out of stock. It's priced at $19.99, which is fairly reasonable. And a little bit of blurb on this one. It's a highly detailed heavyweight resin replica of the Sonic screwdriver, which means that there are no plastic on this one at all, and there are no seams. It's one complete mold. It looks like heavyweight resin, which is cool. It's hand painted for authenticity, and includes easy to use the Wow Stuff app, which is out for both iPhone and Android. And then it goes on to say it's a highly detailed model of the Sonic screwdriver, which is especially designed for light painting. Create your own stunning artwork in the air around you, and comes with a free app to use on your phone, iOS and Android. So the idea is with the app, you hit the button on the Sonic, I suppose, and then you wave it around and then you record it, and then you've got these awesome kind of light trails and all that stuff. So I think this is an interesting one, actually. I think we're going to have to get this in the hand to see what it feels like, see what it looks like, compare it to the other models that came out. I've got the US version because I was out in Canada a couple of 2 years ago, I think, when this first dropped. So I picked that one up there. Adam's got the Character one. So I assume one of us will get this one, probably Adam, Adam. And we'll compare and let you guys know what it's like. But yeah, it looks kind of cool so far. I do like the look of this one. It's the thing I like the most about it, and this is what we're going to have to get in the hand to actually test it, is the this kind of molded resin heavyweight, highly detailed case. I mean, if I would imagine for adults who are collecting this, you'd want it because of the screen accuracy without the plastic seams and all the screw holes and everything. That might be a cool thing to have. And then for kids, obviously, the whole light painting thing with the app, seems really cool. So I'll link to the Amazon page in the show notes. I honestly don't know when this is coming back in stock. It doesn't say. It just says temporarily out of stock, but it is priced at $19.99. So there you go. Wow stuff. Their new 13th Doctor Sonic screwdriver. We'll let you know what the crack is with that when we get a copy to review. Moving on, the guys over at HeroCollector.com have announced some upcoming companion sets, which actually look kind of cool. I'm not really a collector of these things. It will come to no surprise that Adam does collect things like these. They're essentially the little magazine figurines or similar that have been running for ages and ages. But they've announced a set of 4 figures for each time period. So they've got a First Doctor set, which looks really cool, which comes with the First Doctor. Also comes with Ian, Barbara, and Susan. They look really cool. They're in their outfit from An Unearthly Child, it looks like. And then there's another set, which is a 13th Doctor set, which has got Jodie, Ryan, Yaz, and Graham. They look really cool as well. The likeness is pretty good, I would say. And so each set comes with the 4 figurines, with the Doctor and their 3 companions in each one, highly rendered in a hand-painted poly-resin 1:21 scale, which works out to about just under 4 inches tall, I think. It also comes with a companion magazine, which has got loads of details and all of that stuff. So dates for these, not out quite yet. So the 13th Doctor set will be available in January. So not too long to wait. And then the First Doctor set is out just afterwards in February of next year. And you can get them direct from HeroCollector.com, or you'll be able to pick them up from various retailers. It doesn't say exactly what retailers, but I imagine it'll be things like Forbidden Planet and stuff like that. So these actually look quite cool. I really, really like the First Doctor set. Those figures look really cool. I also like the 13th one, actually. The likeness is pretty decent. But if figurines is your thing, then yes, January and February from HeroCollector.com. And then moving on. So I mentioned earlier that we have in the past couple of weeks on the show, when we were talking about merch and so on, we've said that it's been very quiet from Rubbertoe over the last few months. And of course, they listen to the show, so they must have thought, hold on, the listeners of the Big Blue Box are not going to be happy with us if we don't bring the goods. So they've announced 3 replicas just in time for Christmas, which is good. The first one is a spinning TARDIS replica. So this is it's the little semi-transparent TARDIS that is on the current console in Jodie's or 13th Doctor's TARDIS. It's the little, almost see-through, semi-transparent spinner, and it comes with a really cool light-up base, and the thing does spin as well. You can grab hold of the light on the top and give it a good old spin. And some blurb on this from Rubbertoe. They are pleased to offer this beautiful replica of the spinning mini semi-transparent TARDIS, which we found on the console of the current Series 11 TARDIS. As soon as we saw the little spinning TARDIS, we knew we had to make a replica. We have made it so if you spin it yourself, not only is it very cool, it's also the best fidget toy ever. And then it says, warning, spinning your mini TARDIS may be addictive. It's made from the same CAD file as the original prop. So in terms of dimensions, it should be bang on to screen accuracy. The spinning TARDIS looks beautiful, especially when it's lit up from underneath by its white 5-volt LED lights. The lights are powered by a USB cord, which comes already wired up and be connected to a power source such as a computer or laptop. We have used a little creative license for the metal base, as it was made from an old computer fan from the Doctor Who prop store. So we have made our own version. We think it's even cooler now, as we added some Gallifreyan symbols to the bottom to replace what would have been merely holes in the original base. An amazing display piece, as well as something you can get your hand to play with. The spinning TARDIS is a must-have for any Doctor Who fan. So this sounds kind of cool. If this when you were watching Series 11 and you saw the little semi-transparent TARDIS, if you thought that was cool, this could be for you. As always, the quality is really good, but you pay for the quality. So from Rubbertoe, this is priced at $79.99. But I think this is pretty good value, actually, because you do get that really cool LED base underneath it as well. And if you look at, again, I'll link to this in the show notes, but if you look at the pictures, it does look very cool. My only kind of little criticism is it's quite small. Now, I know it's supposed to be small because it's an exact replica of what we see on the screen, and that, it was kind of small on the console. So it's kind of small, but, like I said, if you really like the look of it, then this could be for you. And when is this shipping? I think this is shipping now. Yeah, you can, yeah. So if I'll put a link to it, you can go over and have a look. I'm just having a look to see what the shipping charge is. So with shipping, it takes it to £85. So just be aware of that. It's you have to pay a bit of shipping even to the UK, but it does look kind of cool. And then the next couple of things from Rubbertoe look very cute indeed. These are the miniature little display props. The first one is the 13th Doctor Sonic, which comes with a very cool little metallic stand, and it comes in a metal case as well, which looks very nice. And a 13th Doctor Sonic that fits in the palm of your hand. This little miniature has all the exquisite detail of the original prop and is handmade from the same material, hand-cast pewter. Because it is hand-cast in solid metal, it's surprisingly weighty and comes with its own cast pewter display stand. Also comes in a Doctor Who branded metal display tin with a small certificate of authenticity, making it a fantastic gift for any discerning Doctor Who fan. And this is limited to 500. Now, because these are miniature and so on, these are slightly cheaper. So with shipping to the UK, it's £40, £45. To the rest of the world, it's an extra tenner, it'd be 50 quid. But I kind of like these, actually. They do look very cool. So I just want to emphasize or re-emphasize that this is a miniature. It's not a full-size Sonic prop, so just keep that in mind. So don't rush off to Rubbertoe because you've heard it's a really cool pewter metal Sonic prop on a stand. It is a miniature one, so it's very cute though. I think it looked very cool on your desk or on the bookshelf. So that's that one, and then the second one is the miniature Captain Jack blaster, which is the same price, £50 with shipping to the UK. Actually, no. Why is that more? So the Captain Jack one, the 13th Doctor Sonic to the UK was £40. The Captain Jack one to the UK is £50. So no idea on that one. But they say that they are proud to present one of our all-time favourite Doctor Who weapons in miniature, hand-casted in pewter, surprisingly weighty for its diminutive size, and has all the beautiful detail of its full-size counterpart. Each miniature Captain Jack blaster is hand-finished and hand-painted in a 10-stage process, and comes with its own pewter display stand. And it also comes with the same tin and whatnot. So again, this one looks very cute. It's slightly different to the Sonic. The Sonic one is all metal. There's no other painted colours on it, whereas the Captain Jack blaster has got the blue kind of light inside the barrel, and it's got the wood effect on the handle as well. Again, comes with exactly the same stand by the look of it, exactly the same tin as the Sonic. But again, if you're a fan of Captain Jack and you want some Who goodness on your bookshelf or your desk, this could be kind of cool. So there we go. Some stuff from Rubbertoe props, the little spinning semi-transparent TARDIS, the miniature 13th Doctor Sonic, and the miniature Captain Jack blaster. I will link to all of that stuff in the show notes so that you can pick up your significant other or a friend some cool Doctor Who stuff for Crimbo. So that's those little bits of match out of the way. And now the Series 12 trailer that dropped very recently on Saturday, in fact. I wanted to give you my thoughts on this as a quick roundup. I didn't want to leave it for 2 weeks because even though I would probably rewatch it a bunch of times, my memory isn't that great. So I've actually made a bunch of notes that I can refer to because I've watched it around 25, 30 times now over and over again. I watched it a bunch of times on Saturday on the way home on the train after the BFI event, and I've watched it a few times each day since then and a bunch of times this morning. And so straight up, when we saw this at the BFI, Because that's the other thing that was cool about that BFI event, is that they played this right at the very end after the second trailer that they played for the season 26 box set. They actually played this because we got around to about 3:00. So they put this on, which was really cool. And first thoughts, when I first watched it, I actually thought this is looking kind of cool, because there was a lot of, the vibe changed very much so in the cinema after we watched the season 26, the second trailer, which we thought was at the very end of the event. There was lots of applause and everything, and everyone was, whooping, stuff. When the Series 12 trailer finished, which they played straight afterwards, there wasn't so much of that. So the mood definitely changed, and there was a little bit of sort of sideways glances at each other, as if to say, what was that? But don't get me wrong, there was still a lot of, that looks really cool. Now, regardless of your opinion on Series 11, whether you liked it, whether you hated it, or you were indifferent, this one does do a very decent job of kickstarting the hype train up to a decent level already. The problem we've had is that it's been very quiet on the Who front for so long, and it's only recently that things have started to drop. So a few weeks back now, we had the image that dropped on social media, which was just the big shadow of Jodie coming out of the TARDIS, and it said, "Watch this space." And then it had a timestamp on the YouTube description. And then they started to put out these, they put out very quick, it's kind of teaser trailer, which was very small, didn't reveal anything. And again, it just said, "Watch this space." But this has all happened right at the end of the year. So we've had no Doctor Who or anything really. All we've had is little snippets here and there on social media, like this person's wrapped filming, or we've wrapped filming now overall, whatever it might be. So this has all come very late. And if we've still had no confirmation from the BBC yet, but if rumours are to be believed, then Series 12 is going to be happening on New Year's Day. So it's not going to be a special. The actual new series is going to start as a two-parter on New Year's Day. So everything has come really late. So we've had, the hype train hasn't even been called the hype train for a long time. It's just been called the Doctor Who train. So it's only recently that all this stuff has kind of got us in the mood, so to speak. So it was really cool to have a decent trailer as well, because the last thing that I wanted was to have a very quick 15-second, blink and you miss it. So this is a really good trailer. It's just over, I think it's about a minute long, or just under a minute. And my first thoughts, I actually thought this was really cool. I'll be honest with you, if you listen to all of our reviews when Series 11 went out, then you will know that we thought, Adam and I were fairly in parallel with our thoughts on this, but for the most part, I thought that Series 11 was a little bit hit and miss, I think is the best way to describe it. I certainly didn't hate it, but I didn't get that feeling. And when we've reviewed various stories over the last few weeks, Turn Left, for example, when I finished watching Turn Left, I was really felt with a sense of, oh my God, that was just amazing. And, I have to watch the next part. It looks so good. And there was various parts that gave me goosebumps and all that stuff. And I'm not fanboying about, Tennant's era. I'm not going to go down the good old days route and all that, stuff. But, my feelings are, that era of Doctor Who is, does do it for me. And it does leave me wanting more. And, and I just really wish that Doctor Who made me feel that way. So like I said, I didn't hate Series 11 and I didn't love it. I just felt it was kind of middle of the road for me. Most of the episodes didn't leave me thinking, oh my God, I've just watched, potentially one of the best episodes of Doctor Who, or it didn't leave me feeling like I cannot wait until next week. I was like, oh yeah, cool. That was decent Who, but I'll wait for next week. It's not too bad. So Series 12, I honestly feel is a bit of a shift in the direction for the show. I think they've definitely upped the on-screen action and stuff, and visually it looks amazing. Like, I thought Series 11 visually just looked amazing. It was beautifully shot for the most part, and the color grading and the edit, it just looked brilliant, like the best we've ever had Doctor Who. And I think Series 12 is a notch up from that. I really do. It's like some of the shots, there's a couple of quick little bits where you see the TARDIS zipping through the vortex. It just looks beautiful. And just the overall sort of fidelity of the image looks lovely, and it's nice and crisp and sharp, and the effects look bang on. You can tell that they've thrown a bunch of money at it, which I think is needed in order to keep up with just what's going on in television in general at the moment. If you look at some of the very popular TV shows that fans are into or have been into over the past year or so, things like Stranger Things on Netflix, War of the Worlds that just dropped recently, Game of Thrones, those type of programs, and also the recently released The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. Those type of shows, especially I think The Mandalorian I can't see the BBC spending as much money on that as Disney did on Mandalorian. But I think in order to kind of keep up with what's essentially a bunch of mini feature films, that the amount of money that's been thrown at a lot of these programs, they just look absolutely amazing. And I think Doctor Who has to keep up with that. So you can tell that they've upped the budget as well. Just the locations they've been to, the quality of the visual effects, don't get me wrong, it's Doctor Who still, so we still have the good old people in suits and prosthetics and stuff. That all that's still there. You can tell the Jadoon are here in their. They look exactly the same in their suits. It's all good. There was an alien that I think it looks really similar to the Rachnos that we saw in Tennant's era. It looks really, really similar. I think it could be that species or something similar, or it could be just this is the Chibbers, so it could be something just completely different. But that looks really good. The prosthetics there and so on. And there's a scene also where it looks like Victorian London or Victorian somewhere, that you see two people running from this alleyway, and then this huge like metal scorpion thing comes like barreling round and crashes into stuff. The effects just look brilliant. Really, really good. The overall vibe of the trailer as well, I really like. The soundtrack behind it is very contemporary and sort of thunders along and gets you in, and they've done this clever edit as well where some of the humour, there's a bit where Stephen Fry's character is, the threat, our world is in danger and threat and stuff. Can we rely on you? And then the music just stops, and it's the Doctor and another character in this wooden box. And she's like, I'll be honest, this is not where I want it to be, but I can work with this. And that's quite funny. And then the music kicks back in, and it's a really, really well done trailer, actually. It's very cool. So it's got a good mix of action. There's humour in there. There's also an emotional aspect to the trailer as well. Sort of 2/3 in, there's a bit where the music, the kind of the actiony thundering along music just stops for a second, gets replaced by this emotional score. And you see Jodie, looking quite perturbed, and she's like, something's coming for me. And then you see this Cyberman walking through the smoke and stuff, and the design of the Cyberman looks really cool. It's like battle worn and scarred, and it's got burn marks on it and stuff. It all looks really cool. And then again, we cut back into that music and the companions, like we're family. And there's a scene where Jodie sort of smashes down this lever on the console, and on we go. So it's got a really good mix of, even though it's just a 50-second trailer or whatnot, it has got a good range of stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't kind of, nuts about the trailer before. I did think, this looks really cool, and it's a good way of getting people into the upcoming series when that hopefully starts in January. But the more I've watched it, and the more I've sort of analysed a few things, and yeah, it has great. It definitely, I'm really looking forward to Series 12 now. I must admit, I didn't think I would be. I wouldn't say I'd go as far as I've had a take it or leave it attitude, but I've definitely had this, yeah, Series 12 is going to, hopefully be good. But, if the trailer doesn't land, then it doesn't land. It's, meh. But the fact that it's here and it's looking really good, the more I watch it, the more I'm getting myself hyped up. It's a bit like, I feel like a little kid at Christmas. The more you come down and stare at your presents under the tree, the more you get yourself kind of excited, ready for the big day. It's kind of like that. The more I'm into it, the more I'm feeling kind of Series 12. And then there's some other things that that we've seen. So Chibbers did mention in a press release or an interview, one of the two, last month, I think, that this is going to be the most epic series of Doctor Who that we've seen, and they've done some real epic things and whatnot. And I have to say, he could be correct with that. Just some of all these things have come together, like the sets look amazing, and the locations, like I said, look good, and the visual effects, and just some of the sequences that we've seen. It looks like there's a couple of sequences where I thought, wow, that really looks like they've spent millions of pounds on a feature film budget. Like, this looks like a Hollywood production. There's a scene where they're reversing in this BMW backwards through traffic, and the way it's shot looks amazing and stuff, and the lighting's amazing. And then there's the scene where, like I said, Jodie's around the console and she's like, really forceful and quite intense with like flipping levers and stuff. And then you mix that in with the light-hearted moments. I must admit that the more I'm talking about it, I'm getting myself even more hyped up. It does look really good. And I want to mention Jodie as well, because I think one of the things there were two main things that I think, if you weren't a fan of Series 11, this is probably related to that, in that just some of the stories for Series 11 didn't quite hit the mark for a lot of people. And I want to say that if you did like Series 11, if you're a fan of the 13th Doctor and you like Series 11, then amazing. Both myself and Adam, we've said this many times. If you feel like this is the best of Doctor Who, then that's brilliant. That's all good. We're just giving you our, because fandom's a little bit touchy these days with stuff. If you have an opinion on something, you typically get shot down in flames within a few seconds. So, none of the criticism we've ever had around Series 11 or Jodie Whittaker has been, what's the word? It's never been from a place of, just being, beep holes, or dicks about or Doctor Who or anything. It comes from a place of love, if that makes sense. We love the show, and so it never comes from a place of just being nasty about anything for the sake of it or anything like that. So if your complaint with Series 11 was the stories, where some of them were okay, some of them were pretty poor, and a couple of them were amazing, like my point of view, then I think Series 12 is going to remedy that. I think every episode has got, some high-end adventure and action and humour, which is what we were after, really. When you mix that, I'm assuming that they're going to put at least one historical in here as well, because they're the ones that were the most popular, I believe, from Series 11. So we're probably going to have some historical stuff in there as well. And then the other criticism that obviously a lot of people had, if you weren't a fan of Series 11, is the Doctor herself, Jodie. Now, I think, based on this trailer, that she has tweaked her version of the Doctor, how she wants to play the character ever so slightly, which I think is good. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, by watching the episodes themselves, but it seems to me like we're not going to get as much of the goofy little one-liners. I think they tried that in Series 11, and to a degree that worked, I suppose. There was a couple of times when it was relatively funny, but it was just overkill a lot of the time. So we've had Doctors in the past that have had that kind of playful, clown-like, goofy kind of nature, like Troughton's Doctor was kind of like that. Tennant had it a couple of times to a degree. Matt Smith had it a few times. And McCoy's Doctor had it a little bit as well. That kind of, kid-like clowning around, So it's not unusual to see that with the Doctor, but I just feel like Jodie's Doctor, it was just a bit full on a lot of the time. And the vibe I'm getting from this new trailer is that that's not going to be there as much. I feel like this is a more fine-tuned, balance I'm hoping that we're going to get from her Doctor. As an actress, she's got such a great range as well. So she does play the funny very well. She plays the emotional side very well. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a bit more of that sort of consistently through the series. And also there's a couple of scenes where the companions are feeling it as well. There's a bit where Graham, as well as his funny side, he's being quite straight with it. There's a scene where Yaz is in tears about something. There's a scene where Jodie's just staring. She's like sat on the floor in the console room. She's just staring while things are going on. And so, yeah, I feel like that, well, this it might not be true, but the vibe that I'm getting from this trailer is that she's tweaked her Doctor slightly. It'll also depend on how she's been written as well. That's an important factor. If the writers have written her to be this kind of slapsticky, goofy Doctor a lot of the time that they did for Series 11, then that could obviously change things. But yes, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. So overall, see if I've missed anything in my notes here. So just to recap then, I think we've got a really good mix of action and humour and emotional stuff. I feel like it does feel like an epic adventure. They've upped the production value a little bit more from last year. And just the quality of the effects and so on, it all just looks stunning. It looks really good. I think Jodie looks more intense. I think her Doctor still will be funny. I think the humour side of things will still be there, but I think there's an intensity to her that we didn't really see as much in Series 11. The returning aliens and monsters look really good. The Jadoon, the Cybermen, or Cyberman, it could be a solo thing for them. And potentially the Rachnos or a similar thing that's really good. Visual effects look brilliant. There's a scene, I love the way they've done the star fields in this series and in Series 11. It's got this really nice kind of pinky and purpley hues and light leaks and effects and stuff. It just looks so good. So there's a scene where the TARDIS is zipping down the vortex. It looks amazing. The big metal scorpion thing looks so good. Loving all that stuff. The soundtrack's good. The appearances from Lenny Henry and Stephen Fry actually look pretty good. My co-host Adam wasn't too crazy about those casting announcements, but yeah, they're looking quite good so far. You can always rely on Stephen Fry, at least. Lenny Henry's a little bit not as much consistency there, because I think he's spent so many years as a stand-up and as a comedian. It's only in recent years with things like Broadchurch and whatnot we've seen his straighter side. So it would be harder to judge. It is harder to judge his character or his performance until we've seen it. But Stephen Fry, you can always rely on him to bring the beans, to bring the bacon. So yes, overall I really, really like this trailer. The more I've seen it, the more I've rewatched it. Really like it. I didn't think I would like it as much as this. I honestly thought I would have watch it once or twice and that'll be it. But actually, I'm into it. I'm into Series 12. I can't wait for it to start. So if the rumours are true and it's New Year's Day, that's not that long really. And we may even get another trailer before then, or at least a couple of screenshots. Maybe not a full-on trailer like this, but we might get a little teaser one maybe. So there's still time. So yes, that's all I've got for you for this kind of in-betweeny show between episodes 247 and 248. Hopefully, we will be back next week together recording 248, and next week we'll be back to our normal reviews and stuff then. So for new listeners who have not jumped aboard our TARDIS yet, we rotate our reviews between New Doctor Who, Classic Doctor Who, Torchwood, and the Sarah Jane Adventures. And next week it is the Sarah Jane Adventures actually, and it's the episode or the story The Eternity Trap. So we'll be asking for your reviews and whatnot next week for those. And then, as I said, hopefully Adam will be back and we'll smash through again just his quick thoughts on the BFI and the Series 12 trailer, and then we'll recap any news and merch that is going on at the time. So thank you very much for listening to me waffle on about Series 12 and the merch and the BFI and so on. I wanted to put out a very short show for you guys so there's no gaps in between recording and whatnot. So very quickly, if you don't subscribe to our show yet, just do a search for the Big Blue Box podcast on any podcast app that's out there. Just head over to, if you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Google Podcasts, anything like that, just do a search for us. Or if you head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, there are links to go off to those. So if you subscribe, you won't miss a show when they land every Friday. Also on the socials, just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Give us a like and a follow over there because we chat plenty of Doctor Who during the week in between shows and stuff. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back next week for episode 248. Until then, take care of yourselves. And remember,